for coming on, dude. I really, really appreciate it.
No problem.
How you been, man?
Well, honestly, I'm struggling with some health issues and trying to find somebody to buy the company and find a way to retire, I guess.
Wow. What's going on with your health issues?
Well, a couple things actually. I got what the hell is it? It's called gly- polyglycemo rheumatoid arthritis, which attacks my wrists and ankles and hips and stuff. And they got me pumped up full of steroids, which keeps me from
Wow.
sleeping and some gastro problems. That's what gets all us old guys. We plumbing.
Yeah, I
When it gets
know.
old, stuff don't work real good, and it takes you out. Shit, I'll
Yeah.
be 68 my next birthday, so
Holy crap.
just
That's
signed up
crazy.
for Social Security.
Wow. And you're still working hard, huh?
Yeah, I got no help, man. I mean, I'm trying to sell the company. I've got a couple of great ideas. If I could get some money backing and I mean, I can still work from home. It's I built a week ago Thursday. I built two great big jobs in a little town called Red Oak. I had 14 of my guys there. I mean, we basically made a miracle happen. Sheeted 180 sheets of deck and tore multiple layers off and walked away
Wow.
from the thing about 7:30 that night. Finished. I mean, the homeowners and the neighbors were just and I love it. That's what I do. I'm in my zone. But
Yeah,
the physical effect it had is it burned me down. I mean, I spent the whole
I
weekend
bet.
in bed. I get cramped all up, and then the arthritis on top of it. And
Man. And you hire a bunch of guys that are in sobriety, right?
oh, I don't know so much about that. I mean, I do have, there's a company down there in Phoenix that I worked with called Multivest, and uh, those guys, if I can ever get retired, is where I'm going to probably go and consult with them because the company was based around sobriety. They were all guys that worked at different roofing companies, and and they got together and they said, "Hey, we're in sobriety. We're surrounded by people, the damn meth, especially,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
I know.
you know."
It's big down there.
So they said, so they got meetings. They have meetings twice a week right there in their office, and I got kind of involved with them for a while, a couple 3 years ago. But I haven't even been to my house in Phoenix in 14 months. You know,
Wow. Yeah, I remember when we were hanging out down there.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, did you hear about all the sober living scandals going on down in Arizona? Did you see that on the
You know,
news?
I got a guy named DJ Cruz, and DJ's working for Phoenix Roofing and Repair now. I had him up here. I met him down there at ironically, I went to a Heroin Anonymous meeting. Never been to one. Just to see what it was about, right? And they had it in what was like a vape store. So every freaking one of them people are in there vaping away on that shit. And it's like, and that drives me crazy because I don't like
Oh, I
smoking,
bet.
you know. And I'm just about to walk out. Now I'm going to say this was 5 years ago, and they had a speaker, and the speaker was DJ Cruz, and DJ at the time there was actually an employee of the prison system, and he had created a system to help integrate inmates back into society that was getting utilized in other prisons, not only just in Arizona, but in California and what have you. I mean, he's just the Pied Piper of people. I've never seen anybody that could just talk to anybody about anything instantly. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, so I mean, so he and I became friends, and sadly, he had a relapse, meth relapse, and I helped him get through that, and got him into rehab down there. I think he's sneaking up on a couple years sobriety now. But I had him here working with me, but it was just too early in his sobriety, with the
Yeah.
hopes that I was going to let him to be able to be my legacy, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Luke has some character defects, and one of them is I'm a prick when it comes to trying to get people to work with me. If you don't really start toeing the line, I let you know about it. And
Yeah.
he, if I looking back, he is killing it down there now. And I'm
Wow.
hoping he,
I might have to get a hold of him when I go down to Arizona.
yeah,
You
yeah. I
know.
mean, he's a good dude. What he's doing there is, I mean, they're spreading out. I'm wish I could get the owners of that company to talk to me because this market up here is very lucrative. Never mind the pun.
Yeah.
It, it's
Yeah.
it's very lucrative. I mean, it hails all the time. They're down there trying to work wind claims, not much for hail, and having to twist the dog's tail to try to get insurance companies to pay for it. And here, the roofs are massacred. It's not even a question.
Oh yeah. Well, I bet the roofs are different in Phoenix too compared to Arizona or anywhere else in the country.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know.
they don't last as long down there. I mean, that's how I
Oh, I
ended up
bet.
in Phoenix. In
I bet.
2009, they had the biggest hailstorm in U.S. history was in Phoenix, Arizona, October of 2009.
Holy crap.
So I came down there to work the storm through a guy, Ken Whitman was his name, and so I sold about 85 jobs, made I don't know a little over $250,000 profit, and collected every penny. Fell in love with the valley. That was right in the middle of the bank crisis, and so I bought the house I bought on a short sale, and I've owned it ever since. And but now it's time to try
Wow.
to make it work for me.
Yeah, you got to get back down there, man. You gotta retire and get back down there. They gotta they call them the blues. They're an opioid, but it's really fentanyl. It's really
Right.
big in Arizona. It's what do you think about this fentanyl crisis and this opioid crisis
It,
that's going
it,
on?
it's bad. DJ is kind of like I call him the street corner preacher. I mean, he can just whip out a prayer, and I mean, he would be a great preacher. I mean, he has the ability to just reach out and grab everybody, mesmerize them, and it sure, I mean,
Yeah,
me, and I'm kind of savvy, so if you can do that to me, you're good. So he took me down to. He was trying to preach to people, and we went down. I think I said I made a poem about it under the overpass. Did you ever get that to you?
I think I might have. I get your text every day, which I do appreciate. I like waking up in the morning, seeing that. Reading
Yeah.
something positive.
I'll tell you a little secret. I don't. I get that from somebody else, and I send it to 5 or 6 guys, a couple other guys I sponsor, and I usually wait till I hear back. So if you comment on it, put a heart or something like that on it,
Mm-hmm.
same time I read it, and it kind of creates a vibe. I'm all about the vibe,
Yeah,
you know.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, it's a lot of spiritual stuff. Were you always into believing God? Were you always like that, or did you have doubts in your early years?
Well, I grew up in a Presbyterian church. I mean, going to church on Sundays kind of was punishment. I never really, when I was a kid, I never really got the vibe. It just ended up being another social event and an opportunity to get the hell out of the house I didn't want to be in anyway. So,
Yeah,
uh, for me, you know, I I probably pray more now today than I ever have because I know it works. The power of prayer, the law of attraction, it's all the same thing. You got, if you want your life to change, you got to step forth and make it change for yourself. Our bodies, God gives us our bodies, and what we're seeing with our eyes, we're projecting from inside us. You
absolutely.
want good things to happen, you got to look for good things in the world and look past all the bad. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
DJ, the local law enforcement down there in Phoenix call the people that are living under the bridges, they call it Blue Town. And I thought, well, because there's all these blue tarps and shit like that, and people coming up. So that's why, no, that's not why they call it Blue Town. They call it Blue Town because the blues, fentanyl, is the new drug of choice.
Oh yeah.
And,
Yep.
and what I noticed when I went down there was, you're seeing, I'd say 97% of what you're seeing is the career homeless person. You know, I mean, doesn't look like they've had a bath and forever like that.
Yeah.
But then there was about 3% of them people that don't look like they were homeless last week. And what those were the people that this freaking drug is taken down. And
They just got hooked. They got hooked.
well, yeah, I mean, and it isn't necessarily just the fentanyl. I mean, first they get hooked on a
It's the
prescription.
it's fentanyl and meth, the combination,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, well, or they'll I don't know if I ever told you the story. I had a friend of mine, his younger brother was the whiz kid, and ended up meeting this gal on Falls City, Nebraska, and her father was a bank president of this chain of banks that was based out of Kansas City, and he ended up being the bank, the senior vice president of this bank that was in Falls City. Well, he severely broke his arm, and uh, he got hooked on freaking obits. They had him on oxy and shit, and to a point where he was embezzling money and doing stupid shit that you do when you're doing that shit. His wife's
Yeah.
divorcing him, and then he disappeared. And then they found him
Wow.
in Kansas City in the alley with a freaking needle in his arm, dead.
That's so sad. There's so many of those stories out there too, and you would think they would tell the hospital or whoever that's prescribing or giving it to, they would tell you, like this is seriously addicting, and this could really turn into something bad. They should give
Yeah,
you a choice and let you know, like, the repercussions of it.
exactly. And unfortunately for me, I hate how it makes me feel. And it makes me constipated, so I could do without both of them. And I have nightmares. I mean, like dragons chasing you down the street kind of nightmares that you wake up and think was real. So
Yeah.
I have had the pain meds through some surgeries and stuff like that, but I feel grateful that I don't want anything to do with it.
No.
I can't understand anybody that would want anything to do with it. It's like
It's it's a
tell me,
nasty drug, and it's killing so many. It's the number one leading cause of death in America from ages 18 to 50 is fentanyl. And I think Trump stopped most of it from coming in, from what I believe, but it's still pretty bad. It's pretty bad out there.
yeah, and it's so cheap, and they're putting
Yeah.
it in everything. I mean, that's the most terrifying part. I
Oh, you
just
don't know what you're taking.
I'll tell you another little story. I live over on the south side of town in Phoenix, and my neighbor from 4 doors over is a guy named Armando. Now I know those guys smoke weed and they drink, and I go and hang out with them. I'm like the token gringo, you know. And
Yeah.
his wife makes killer all kinds of stuff, desserts, and feeds us to death. And I was hanging out down there, and those guys were out by the swimming pool, and so the front door was open. Nobody was answering the door, and I could see it. So I just walked in, and here was on the counter was like all this stuff she had made, and here was this little tray, and on this tray with these octagon shaped, look like gumdrops, and I love jelly bellies and
Yeah.
beans. I mean,
You got a sweet tooth.
so I reached down, I grabbed one of the yellow ones, and I popped it in my mouth, and I said, "Man, this thing kind of tastes earthy." Wonder. So then I grabbed a red one and I chowed that down, thinking that was, probably gonna taste like cherries, right? Man, it tasted just like the other one. And then I'm about to have a third one, and Armando comes in. Look, you didn't eat those, did you? And I said, I ate two of them. And he goes, man, those are weed gummies. And
Oh no.
dude, I mean, I had to go home. I was ready to have him take me to the hospital. I thought,
Oh
I mean, it's like, and he goes, man, all I've ever done is eaten half of one. And it's like, why would you have that shit set?
yeah.
I
Why
mean,
would
what?
you be laying it out? Oh my God, that's
But
something.
they made fun of me. He came down and kind of, I mean, but I was like a meth high or something. I'm like
Oh
peeking
yeah.
out windows and
Yeah, the edibles, they're like a completely different thing than smoking.
well, that
I
ain't
don't
for
like
me.
that type of. I don't like weed or edibles or any of that. I was never
I
into
never
that.
liked weed back in my day, and the weed we had was, you know,
Oh,
nothing.
nothing compared to today.
Yeah, no,
They
the
got
high.
all types of stuff today. It's all legalized too.
But
So how long
I went to
how
all of
long
these
have you
meetings.
been sober
I
for?
still go 4 meetings a week,
Do you?
3 or 4 meetings a week. I go to more meetings now than when I was required to do it when I was on probation. And
Yeah,
it's because it's like a soul cleansing.
it
I
really
always
is.
feel better at the end of the meeting than I did when I came in. So there's my new addiction.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
what I have to do today is I just got to make every day be more interesting than any romance I ever had with drugs or alcohol in my drug and alcohol life. I mean, that's basically, and then you got to try to heal yourself. If you
Absolutely.
don't heal from that, if you don't try to heal, uh, then you're, from that, then you're going to bleed on somebody that didn't cut you. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the key to my sobriety, and uh, and trying to help others with theirs.
Yeah.
I'm part Native American, so I understand the history of alcoholism with Native Americans. I mean, that's how they talk about how the West was won. That's how they won it. I mean, Native Americans never had any alcohol in their whole history. So one shot of whiskey and they're, that's where the old saying, "Oh, he's just like a drunken Indian," because they've never had anything in their system. They're genetically immune away from it. People that came from Europe had generations of people that had drank alcohol, so it didn't have the same effect.
Wow. I thought it was because they took, like, they came in and took the land, and they fought with them and stuff. I thought that's because they lost and they were like so depressed and out of it, they just started drinking.
No, I mean it's how it began. They put them on reservations, and you know,
Yeah.
I mean, once upon a time, everybody was healthy. They're all healthy looking and appearing. Now you go to reservation, it's obesity, drug and alcohol addiction, and they lay around like nothing, which is what what they became. You know,
Yeah.
so
That's sad.
yeah,
But what commenting on what you said, you gotta. I know this from experience because I've relapsed, lots of times, that when I get a couple months under my belt of sobriety and I start to get lazy, I don't go to meetings and my life isn't fun, it's just it can get lonely, it can get boring. And that's what I've learned, you gotta have fun, you gotta make it interesting. You gotta get your shit done, of course, go to work and all that, but you gotta have a social life. You gotta get out there and do things and change, even doing some uncomfortable things, uh, for the better, to better yourself. You know what I mean? You got to do it. You
if
can't,
you
you can't
let
just,
if you let the program work, okay. There's a point in time in the beginning. Now, I walked into my first meeting in 1988. You know, I got 14 years of sobriety now. So if you do the math, obviously I had a few relapses of my own, and I thought I was different than everybody else. I thought I could drink like a gentleman, do all those things that you can't when you look back.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, I don't want to hang out with these people. These people are ain't fun and what have you. If you give it a chance and you start going to some of the events with them, you're gonna find those are the only people you want to be around. I mean, I still went on poker runs with guys that would drink and shit. And about the third time they're telling me the same story. What about
Oh,
the time I would check out?
oh God.
I
Yeah.
got a group down there that I ride with. This is a pretty good story. One of my first times to try to get sober was during the 2009. I took a guy down there with me, and we're trying to. His name's John Gardner. John needed to get sober. He was destroying his marriage and what have you, and so he was all gun ho about it at the beginning. Okay, so he gets a wear and win, and he's an avid golfer, right? I could, I mean, my shoulders are shit. I golfed. That was just another excuse to drink beer to me, So,
Yeah.
so he finds this meeting is up on Thunderbird on the north side, about 35th Avenue and Thunderbird, I think, at this church, and it was putting sober. It's like, oh fuck, all right, I'll go. So I'm driving and we're coming down Thunderbird and we're getting to that church and we go to turn left into the church. And guess what? In the church where the park lot's at, behind the church, it's a sea of motorcycles. It's a different kind of putting. So I hooked up with those guys, and I still got friends of mine. That's who I go ride with. I used to drink. I mean, my last DUI was on a motorcycle. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh
so
yeah.
I used to think that you couldn't. That's how you enjoyed it better. Now I smell every smell, and I feel every temperature change, and I'm aware of what's going on, and I realize what I was missing. So, and I look for other people to uh, get inspiration from. For me, when I go to meetings, I used to gravitate to the people with big success stories, and they were, business owners and all of that shit. And my
Right.
sponsor said, you know what? When you start hearing the vibe you need to hear from a newcomer that's fresh out of jail, he's missing front tooth, got a fat lip, broken completely, and has the nerve to talk to all those people in front of him, and that starts turning your crank, that's when you're going to realize you got this. Well, that's what I look for now, you know.
Wow.
And I've every time I've had meetings where I didn't want to be there anymore, and then somebody stands up and talks. That's exactly
It's incredible. It's
it,
incredible how that happens.
God put me there for a reason. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree too. I gravitate towards those type of people too because you want to. It rubs off on you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And the people in AA, they really look out for each other. They really help each other. I've learned that over the years. It's incredible. I've met some of the best people. In those rooms, and you could run into a bad meeting every once in a while, but I always get something out of it. I always get something out of every meeting I go to.
you got to go there, not sleep. I get irritated. We have a meeting here. I roll with a group of guys called the Primary Purpose Riders, and it's a complete sober motorcycle club, and they have the Primary Purpose Hall, and where I go to a meeting. I missed it last night, but or Thursday, so it was Thursday because I was trying to get some stuff work done, and man, my health is just whatever's going on is starting to kick my ass. And I had to go to the doctor on Thursday, and they can't even tell you anything. They won't look
Oh,
at what they're testing you for. And it's like, look, my lower back and my legs are so cramped up I can barely walk. Well,
yeah.
look at your
They don't
esophagus.
even tell you what's going on with your health.
I mean, they tell me there's something wrong with my esophagus. You know, uh, when you get old, they call it, I don't know if it's not an endocrinoscopy, it's a endo something. Anyway, you drink this white liquid and they X-ray while you're doing it and see how everything is operating. And they told me my
Um,
esophagus isn't working the way it should because I'm getting a lot of reflux. I'm not getting any acid reflux, but anything
yeah.
eating. And
Were you a smoker back in the day?
never,
Really?
never. I mean, I grew up when everybody smoked, and or you weren't cool. I said, well, I just ain't cool. I hated it. Grew up
Yeah.
around it. Mom, dad gagged me out of the truck and car going down the road, and I just never liked it. Never smoked a
No.
cigarette. A little bit of weed. Didn't really like that either. It affected me differently. Everybody
Yeah.
else gets happy, and all they did is make me paranoid and hungry.
Yeah. Exactly. So your
That
thing was you were
gummy event.
alcohol, right? Alcohol
Yeah,
was your thing.
yeah. I John Daniels. See, if you knew him as well as I did, you could call him John too. Because if alcohol is a crutch, Jack Daniels is the wheelchair. You know,
Oh yeah.
and I knew him well. But that's what the cool cats drank, Jack Daniels. You know,
Oh, I bet.
and just anything trying to get to that plateau. You know, it's like these people with these obits and heroin. You have to do more and more of that shit to get to
Yep.
that plateau. I mean, that's what happened to all those people back in the '60s, and Janis Joplin and all. They would shoot heroin to death's door until finally they
Wow.
stepped in and
Wow.
get come back. So
Yeah.
when I'd hear those kind of stories, I'd never had anything that I seen people do it. And I watched them throw up and stuff. I don't want to do anything that make me throw up.
No. No.
Where's
Me
the
neither.
fun in that? Usually you
Yeah.
throw up, the party's over.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
Yeah. It's a dangerous road. You got to do more and more, and you risk the dying. You risk going to death. It's that's honestly, look, I'll tell you the truth. I've had overdoses, and it's so scary, and it's super traumatic, but I fucking go right back to it. It's like a fucking sickness. It's a fucking mental sickness that's even a thing that I almost lose my life a couple times, and I go fucking right back to it. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with me? It's a mental fucking clusterfuck. I don't
well,
get it.
I'll tell you something. I bumped into a guy. His name's Dave Forrell. Dave's got 30 years of sobriety. And it's ironically the meeting I was talking about that I was going to get up and walk out of. And he stood up and talked. And he explained, he's a real old school guy. And he explained it in terms I never really grasped before. And the terms were different than other people. You know, how are chemically made alcohol and drugs has a different effect on us. And you know, where some people, you know, they would do one thing and they're all fucked up there and they'll stop right there. We chemically will create a craving, and you got to not succumb to crave it. You know, it's the same thing as like smoking cigarettes. You know, it's so hard for people to quit. It's because, you know, the nicotine is so addictive and creates a craving in your body. So, you know, and then things that you do that will replicate making you want to do that again. You know, people that, you know, they're doing something, get stressed out, they light up a cigarette, you know.
Yep. Yep.
And
People,
then
places, and things.
too available now. I mean, it's like the little shooter bottles of whiskey.
Oh, they're everywhere.
I mean, they're right there at the counter. I mean, I put a roof on right across the street from the high school I graduated from, and where this quick shop is, which is directly across the street from the high school. You couldn't have any kind of drugs or alcohol within 250 yards of the school. Okay, that included not just school property. And that when in 1977 when I went there, and here's this freaking quick shop across the street, and it's like, how do these kids not? A couple of those, they can reach around there and snatch one.
Oh, absolutely. Or they just ask someone in front of the store to get them something.
No, it's like
too easy.
They shouldn't even be able to see that shit. And
Right.
That's kind of what's happened in the world, unfortunately. You know, is it's harder today than it was, I think, in my time to not drink as a kid, and or do whatever other drugs. There's just everything available, you know.
It's all right there, you know. And
so you go to meetings and you roll with people that go to those meetings, and pretty soon those are the only people you want to be around.
Absolutely. I hate being around drunk people. It's fucking exhausting, and it's just it's annoying. It's just I don't even want to be around it, you know. It's brutal. But I got a serious question. Like, do you think people are born with that disease type, you know, sense that when you just start, you don't stop? Or do you think it's throughout the years? Because I feel like throughout the years it's just happened.
I think you can develop it. I think we all kind of have it inside us, and you develop it. You know, you make yourself drink even more. It's a progressive disease, and I'll give you an example. There was a very high end jewelry store here in Omaha, Nebraska called Borsheim's, and got bought out by Berkshire Hathaway. You know, by the richest man in America, who owns Berkshire Hathaway. And the son, Ike Friedman, was the guy that owned it. And Ike's son, Alan, when I first come in the program in '88, I rolled with what they called the Cadillac Club. I didn't know that at the time, but you know, if you've gone to AA enough, there's different factions. There's guys that are, a bunch of biker kind of guys, and then you got people that are, they're high end people. They have different problems. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
Anyway, one of my things I had to, because Alan was trying to wean himself off of heroin. Well, Berkshire Hathaway gets bought out, so Alan moves to Rodeo Drive, and he was sober 27 or 28 years. And all of a sudden, one day, he decided he wanted to take a taste of that shit one more time. Went in the closet and fucking OD'd and died. In a $10 million house, and so I mean, it's that's how serious. And once you have it, you don't lose it. You just have to manage it. And managing it, you can never quit going to meetings. That's why it's 24 hours at a time, one day at a time. It never changes. You never cross the goal line, do the touchdown dance. It goes on forever and ever. And if you can accept life in those terms, then you're going to be fine. All AA, NA, all of them is a life management course disguised as a sobriety club. And sobriety is a side effect of learning how to manage your life on life's terms, and we're all different. If we have, it's what if I only had one arm? I got, there's only some things I can do, some things I can't do. And I have to adapt myself accordingly. Yeah, I have a drug and alcohol addiction. Okay, I can't be around it. Uh, I can't. I mean, I still have using dreams and
Yeah.
drinking dreams and what have you. I mean, from time to time, especially when I just had some surgery, and they, for about a month afterwards, because they gave me oxy and Demerol IV, and it
Hmm.
took me about a month to quit having them freaking nightmares. Well, the nightmares are, let's do more of that shit. I
Oh,
woke up a couple mornings and I had to like, oh, okay, it was a dream. Thank God.
yeah. Thank God. Then they're so real. You think it's like it takes a minute to fucking snap out of it.
Yeah.
That's
What
that's
do
that's
you
amazing
do?
though. I love that saying. The life management uh
Yeah.
is it's
My
disguised
name,
as
of course, disguised as a sobriety club.
I love that.
So
That's
you're
so
in
true.
Chicago, huh?
Yeah, I'm in the city. It's great. I moved from the south side, and I'm kind of glad looking back at it that I did that, because the south side where I'm from, everyone drinks. It's like the normal. It's like the norm, There's bars everywhere. Everyone. That's just what everyone does, But so I moved up to the north side, and there's so many meetings going on around. I'm in a sober living right now, so yeah, I got a beach right down the block. Life's pretty good right now. I got about 2 months. I'm just like you said, man. 24 hours. That's what I focus on. I don't focus on the future. Then I get anxiety. If you think about the past or the future too much, because I know people are getting married, having kids, have money, all that. I don't even. I try not to think of it. I just try to do the best I can. I've been working out a lot and just going to meetings, working out, going to meetings, work, and eating good. That's what I'm focused on right now.
Well, one of the things I could give you some advice that I hear from a lot of people that have multiple relapses. I mean, obviously, I went and relapsed. I had 7 DUIs.
Oh my God.
I mean, it took me about 25 years to amass that, but it was on my seventh DUI, and I was going to jail for 3 years. Uh, that I finally, got my shit together. I
Yeah.
didn't think I had a problem. I just thought I had bad luck.
Yeah.
I always stood with one leg in the circle, one leg out, you know, and I used to hide in the back of the room. And, I got, I wear my uniform that I wear. I owned the biggest roofing company in Omaha at one point in time. Everybody knew who I was. I was on TV many
Wow.
times. So I didn't want anybody to see me at an AA meeting because that's where losers are. Nah, it's where the winners go. It's where, I go there to win now, uh,
Absolutely.
and you're always going to hear something, especially if somebody struggled with something I struggled with, and I know what they need to do. I can't wait to go over and tell them. And then that's the vibe, that's the magic, you know, and doing nice things for people, opening doors and going out of your way to be nice to the clerk that just got chastised by some asshole customer. Uh, I didn't realize the effect that was going to have for me, how it made me feel. Shit, if I'd have known that, that's better than any drug there is. You know,
So true.
it's a good vibe. So
So true.
just gotta, accept the fact that that's how you gotta live your life, and one day at a time, and that's it. I write some poems and stuff like that about it. Sometimes I've shared a few things with you. I think, you know,
Yeah.
that's what comes from this. But you gotta stay the course. You gotta, find a sponsor that is a prick. I mean, I'm not the guy that
Yeah.
my guys call me every day. If they're three Native American guys are my main three guys, and all three of them are at halfway houses, and so I'd kind of tried to make them understand living in a sober living house or a halfway house or what have you takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Sharing a refrigerator with a bunch of people arguing all the time and what have you,
Yeah.
and they're all drug addicts and everybody's got their opinion. And
Yep.
I don't know if I could do it. So the fact that you're doing that, it makes me admire you. So just see it through. Some people may have to live there forever. My buddy DJ is finally getting out of being in a sober living, and everybody he's recruited to try to work and sell roof jobs are all sober people. So you know what you're getting. That's why I'm never afraid to hire an alcoholic, drug addict, as long as they're in recovery, because I know what I'm getting.
Exactly.
People that aren't any of those things, you don't know what they're really like. I know what a drunk or a drug addict or alcoholic is.
Some of the best people, honestly, when they're sober.
Yeah. And if you give them a chance, they're true, brutal, and loyal. I just can't seem to find anybody today.
Well, yeah, there's that side of it too, when they're not serious about it, but you are right though. It does take courage to come in here, man. It's not easy, but you gotta want to better your life, and I honestly don't want to fucking wait till I'm old to fucking get it right. I fucking been trying for years. I think it's so important to fucking have like a legit routine, and you got to have some purpose in your life, and you got to have people in your life, that care about you and are good friends. They're loyal friends,
I wake up every morning, and I'm assuming you do some morning prayers. Here is the most effective technique taught to me by my sponsor, and he even gave me a little bit of a variation about 6 months ago. I wake up every morning and I thank my higher power, God in my case, for the day of sobriety he gave me, and I ask him to give me another one. Now it's on me, because he never says no. Guide my actions, guide my thoughts. Now here's the variation. Here's where I always get myself in trouble. Guide my reactions. Sometimes people say and do things you don't want to hear, or what have you, and you overreact. Give that just a pause. And since I've done that, it's helped me a bunch. But hey, buddy, I've got a roll here.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask you one last question too. I was just gonna say,
Sure.
So what would you say for advice for someone who's got a month or two and is kind of getting the feel of it and really rocking and rolling, but boredom comes up and loneliness comes up, and they go back into using because that's all they know, because they're already they say fuck it. What would be the best thing to do in those types of situations?
Go to a meeting.
Yeah,
people to roll with. I mean, you got to have somebody that you can call. When that happens, and potentially you're going to need somebody there in Chicago somewhere that would be, because guess what? As much as they're helping you and you realize that, they're helping themselves too. That's the magic here. That's why this works. That's why when somebody offers their help to you and you take it, you're not even helping. You're not just helping yourself. You've just helped them. You just don't realize it because you're on the other end. You get some variety in there, and it'll make a difference. I gotta believe there's something to do sober that's fun related every weekend here in Omaha. I gotta believe it's almost every day in Chicago if you look. And that's what you gotta do.
That's the benefit of living here. You know what I mean? And that's how AA was created. Helping someone, and they were really helping themselves.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a problem since the beginning of time. Part of what this Dave Coral talked about, because here's the deal. Okay, so if I'm part Native American, one of my I would call mortal enemies was Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer. Because he eradicated a lot of Native Americans, and I know what the real history is, though it doesn't show it in the history books. And the irony I discovered is when I went looking just for my own personal knowledge, Bill and Bob didn't invent AA, really. This has been a problem for centuries. They called us drunkards, people that would drink, and, Chinese people would do obits and opium and become worthless. There had to have been other people in history. Well, there was people that signed the Declaration of Independence that he mentioned. I forgot which one of the guys was that was very avid about not drinking and drugging. And ironically, George Custer was one.
That's interesting. I got to look into that.
Total teetotaler and egomaniac, mind you, which is what got him killed. because he didn't have any. He didn't think the Native Americans were human. So men, women, and children, he just killed them. But the army, his father was in the army and died of alcoholism. His brother, who died on the hill with him, was an alcoholic, and he was trying to do something about it. And after his death, and mainly because she wanted everybody to remember him differently, his wife went on and did the same thing. And it wasn't entirely about drinking and drugging; it was about trying to change everybody's opinion of Custer because they looked at him as a loss. But the effect that he had on the Native American people, the Crow Indians and the Lakota, which are Sioux, which is where my great grandma Nettie was full blood Lakota, and she taught me some things, and she died when I was 6 years old, so it was a long time ago. And she was in the Indian school and all that history, so I go looking at history kind of stuff. Uh, the Crow, if a Crow warrior and a Sioux warrior met on the prairie, one of them didn't walk away. They were mortal enemies since the beginning of time. Well, they joined forces to kill Custer. So when Custer was going up Little Bighorn, he was going to get away at the top of that mountain, top of the hill, and all Lakota were on this side of it. But there were 1,000 Crow warriors waiting for him on the other side, and that's what took it all down. And his body was so mutilated, so was his brothers. They couldn't hardly recognize what they were, who they were.
Oh, yeah. That is so interesting, man. I got to look into that. But thank you for coming on, Luke. I always enjoy talking to you. You're a good dude. And we got to stay in touch.
You bet.